The old house stood on a hill, silhouetted against the bruised twilight sky like a jagged tooth. It had been empty for years, whispered about by the townsfolk, a place where shadows clung too tightly, and silence had a weight that pressed down on your chest. We, a group of teenagers fueled by bravado and cheap pizza, decided it was the perfect place for a dare. Liam, always the instigator, had dared us to spend the night inside. Sarah, perpetually anxious, had tried to back out, but the jeers from the others had silenced her. And then there was me, Maya, drawn by a morbid curiosity I couldn't explain. As the heavy oak door creaked open, a blast of stale, cold air hit us, carrying with it a scent I couldn't quite place: damp earth, decay, and something else, something metallic and sickly sweet. Dust motes danced in the faint beams of our flashlights, illuminating peeling wallpaper and cobweb-draped furniture. The silence was profound, broken only by the frantic thump of our own hearts. We decided to camp out in what looked like a former ballroom. The floor was warped, and a grand chandelier, missing most of its crystals, hung precariously from the ceiling. As the night deepened, the subtle shifts began. A floorboard creaked upstairs when we were all accounted for. A faint whisper, like dry leaves skittering across stone, seemed to emanate from the empty fireplace. Sarah was a wreck, jumping at every sound, her eyes wide and darting. Liam, though trying to play it cool, kept checking over his shoulder. Then the whispers grew. They weren't just random sounds anymore. They seemed to coalesce, forming indistinct words that brushed against our ears, chilling us to the bone. They spoke of resentment, of loneliness, of a burning desire for something more. It felt as though the house itself was breathing, a malevolent presence stirring from its slumber. Around midnight, the temperature plummeted. Our breath misted in the air, and a visible haze seemed to form in the center of the room. The whispers intensified, becoming clearer, more insistent. They spoke a name, repeated over and over, a name that sent shivers down my spine: Elias. And then, with a terrifying clarity, they began to speak directly to us, not with words, but with a chilling impression, a feeling of intense hunger that seemed to emanate from the shadows. Liam, his face pale and drawn, finally broke. "This isn't funny anymore," he stammered, his voice trembling. He fumbled for his phone, but there was no signal. Sarah was weeping silently, clutching my arm so tightly her nails dug into my skin. The haze in the center of the room began to swirl, thickening, darkening. It coalesced into a vaguely humanoid shape, not solid, but more like an absence of light, a void that seemed to absorb our very essence. The whispers were no longer just sounds. They were an assault on our minds, filling us with dread, with a primal fear that clawed at our sanity. We scrambled for the door, fumbling with the rusted bolt. The entity, whatever it was, didn't pursue us physically, but its presence was a crushing weight, a suffocating despair. As we burst out into the frigid night air, gasping for breath, I risked a glance back. In the gloom of the ballroom, the shadowy form seemed to sag, its hunger temporarily sated, or perhaps simply waiting for the next unsuspecting souls to wander into its domain. We never spoke of Elias again, but the memory of that night, the oppressive silence, and the insidious whispers would forever haunt our dreams. And now you're watching this. Are you sure you're alone in your room? Listen closely. Can you hear the whispers? They know you're listening. They're always hungry,